I was 3 hours deep into a project deadline when the world outside my window just stopped. 1 second, I could hear the usual hum of the neighborhood at night, distant traffic on Maple, the Hendersons' porch light buzzing like it always did, maybe a dog barking a few streets over. The next second, nothing. Complete silence, the kind that makes your ears ring because they're searching for sound that isn't there. I glanced up from my laptop. Through my office window, the street looked wrong. The streetlights that usually cast those orange pools every 50 feet or so, all dark. The Caldwell's place across the street, where they always left their living room TV flickering blue through the curtains, black. The Young's house next door with their ridiculous Halloween decorations they never took down, completely dark. Power outage, had to be. Except my lights were still on. My laptop still plugged in and charging. The ceiling fan still turning lazy circles above my head. I pushed back from my desk and walked to the window, pressing my face close to the glass. Every single house on the block was dark. Not just lights off for the night dark, but that kind of empty darkness that feels almost solid, like the houses themselves had been hollowed out. My porch light was still on. I could see it illuminating the front yard, the edge of the driveway, the mailbox with the faded number 4217. Beyond that circle of light, everything else had been swallowed. Weird, I muttered, pulling out my phone. No signal. The bars were just gone. Not even searching, just blank. But when I checked the Wi-Fi, it showed full strength, connected. I opened my browser and pulled up the utility company's outage. The page loaded fine. According to their system, there were no reported outages in my area. 0. The whole grid showed green. I tried calling Sarah, my girlfriend. The call wouldn't even attempt to connect. No ringing, no error message, just silence, then a disconnect. Back to the window. Still nothing moving out there. No headlights approaching on the street, no porch lights flickering back on, just my house, lit up like a beacon in an ocean of black. I went downstairs, flipped on the porch light switch a few times to test it. On, off, working fine. Checked the breaker panel in the garage. Everything normal, nothing tripped. The house hummed with electricity like it always did. Refrigerator running, AC kicking on, all the usual sounds. But outside, nothing. I opened the front door and stood on the porch. The November air hit me with that crisp bite that smells like dead leaves and distant fireplaces. But tonight there was no smoke smell, no sound of anyone's heater running, no generator sputtering to life like you'd expect after a power outage. Just silence, so complete it felt like pressure against my eardrums. "Hello?" I called out. My voice fell flat, didn't carry the way it should have. "Anyone there?" Nothing.
The Caldwell's house was maybe 40 feet away. I could usually hear Dan coughing through the walls when he stayed up late watching his war documentaries. Now, nothing. Like the house was empty, like they were all just gone. I stepped back inside, locked the door. Probably just a weird transformer issue or something. They'd fix it, morning would come, and everything would be back to normal. I tried to get back to work, but I kept glancing out the window. The darkness beyond my property line looked thicker than it should, denser, like it was pushing against the light from my house, trying to smother it. Around midnight, I saw the first movement. At first, I thought it was my eyes playing tricks. You know how you stare at darkness long enough and your brain starts inventing shapes. But no, there was definitely something moving out there, right at the edge where my porch light ended and the darkness began. A shape, low to the ground, shifting slowly from left to right, just outside the light's reach. I stood up, heart suddenly hammering. "Hello?" The shape stopped moving. I waited, barely breathing. After a few seconds, it started again, pacing, staying just in that boundary zone between light and dark, like it was testing something. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and pointed it out the window. The beam cut into the darkness, but I couldn't see anything. Whatever had been moving was gone, or had backed away from the light. I turned off the phone's flashlight. Within seconds, the movement resumed, closer now. I could make out multiple shapes this time, all moving with that same slow, deliberate pace, circling, all of them staying just outside the light. My mouth went kenai. I walked through the house, checking every window. In the backyard, same thing. Shapes moving in the darkness beyond the reach of my back porch light. Never coming into the illuminated areas. Never crossing that threshold. Just waiting. I called 911. The phone rang. Actually rang this time. But no one picked up. It rang and rang and rang 20, 30 times. Until I hung up and tried again. Same thing. The Wi-Fi still worked. I pulled up Facebook, Twitter, local news sites. Everything loaded fine. But every post, every tweet, every article was from hours ago. Nothing new. It was like the entire internet had frozen in place around 9:47 p.m. I went back to the window. There were more of them now. Dozens of shapes, all different sizes, all moving in that same patient, circling pattern. The light from my house seemed to be the only thing keeping them back. My hand shook as I reached for the light switch. What if...
What if the light wasn't protecting me? What if it was doing the opposite? The thought came unbidden, and once it arrived, I couldn't shake it. Every horror movie I'd ever seen, every campfire story, they all said the same thing. Light equals safety, darkness equals danger.
But what if that was wrong? What if the light was marking me, highlighting me? I thought about all those houses, dark and silent. Were the people inside okay because they had no power? Were they safe in their darkness while I sat here, lit up and exposed? I flipped the switch. The porch light went out. Through the window, I watched my front yard disappear into blackness. The movement outside stopped immediately. Complete stillness, like someone had pressed pause on the whole world. I stood frozen, hand still on the switch, counting my heartbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing moved. Slowly, hardly breathing, I flipped the switch back on. The porch light blazed to life, and something was standing directly beneath it. I jerked back from the window with a strangled gasp. My shoulder hit the wall, knocked a picture frame loose. It shattered on the floor, but I couldn't look away from what was outside. It was tall, impossibly tall. Its body was wrong, limbs too long, joints bending in too many places. It stood perfectly still in the circle of light, face tilted up toward my window. I couldn't see its features clearly. The porch light created harsh shadows that made it difficult to focus, like my eyes kept sliding off it. But I could see enough to know it wasn't human, enough to know it had been waiting for me to turn the light back on. It didn't move, didn't approach the house, just stood there, bathed in my porch light, watching. My hand found the switch again, off. Darkness swallowed the front yard. I pressed myself against the wall, breathing hard, counting again. 10 seconds, 20, 30. I looked out the window. My eyes were adjusting now, pulling shapes from the darkness. The thing was gone. Everything was still. My whole body was shaking. I understood now. The light was bait, an invitation. Whatever these things were, they couldn't enter without it. But they wanted in. God, they wanted in so badly. I went through the house, turning off every light. Living room, kitchen, hallway, bathroom. One by one, I plunged the house into darkness until only my office lamp remained, the one I'd been working under when this all started. I stood in the doorway, hand hovering over the switch. If I turned it off, would they leave? Would I be safe in the darkness like my neighbors? Or was it already too late? Had I already been seen, marked? I turned it off. The house fell into complete and total darkness. I stood there, blind, listening. My breathing sounded thunderous in the silence. I could hear my pulse throbbing in my temples. Nothing else. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Time fell broken, stretched out like taffy. I didn't move, didn't turn on a single light. I made my way by memory to my bedroom, climbed into bed fully clothed, and pulled the covers up, like I was a kid again, like blankets could protect me from what was outside.
I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have, because suddenly there was light pressing against my eyelids and bird song filtering through the window. Morning. I sat up, disoriented. Sunlight streamed through the curtains. I could hear normal sounds again. A car driving past, someone's sprinkler system kicking on, a dog barking. I stumbled to the window and looked out. The street looked completely normal. The Caldwell's car was in their driveway. Lights were on in the Young's kitchen. Everything exactly as it should be. I checked my phone. Full signal. Texts from Sarah asking why I hadn't responded last night. A missed call from my mom. Everything normal. I went outside in my wrinkled clothes from yesterday. Dan Caldwell was getting his newspaper from the driveway. He waved. Morning, you're up early. Dan, last night, was your power? My power what? Did it go out? Was there an outage? He looked at me strangely. No, everything was fine. Why? The whole street was dark. Every house except mine. I don't think so, buddy. We watched TV until pretty late. Power was fine. I wanted to argue, but the look on his face stopped me. He thought I was crazy. I went back inside and pulled up my security camera footage. I had cameras covering the front door and driveway, always recording. I scrolled back to last night, to 9:47 p.m., when everything went dark. The footage showed my house, my porch light on, and across the street, the Caldwell's house, every light blazing. The Young's place next door, same thing. All the street lights working fine. Every house on the block, fully powered and bright. But in the footage, there was this weird quality to all the other lights. They looked dim, weak, like they were struggling. But my lights, my porch light, my windows, they glowed with this intense, almost white brilliance, like a spotlight, like a signal. I was the only house that was really lit, and the things in the darkness, they'd seen it. I watched the footage all the way through dawn, watched myself turn off the lights, plunging my house into darkness while all my neighbors' homes glowed around me, watched the shadows at the edge of my property finally recede when my last light went out. I'm writing this now, late afternoon, sun still up.
I've been checking the weather obsessively. Clear skies, no storms predicted. But I know that doesn't matter, because tonight will come. It always does. And when it gets dark, I'm going to have to make a choice. Sit in darkness and hope they've forgotten about me, or turn on a light and let them know I'm still here. The worst part, I still don't know which option keeps me safe. I just know that last night, I saw what lives in the spaces between the light and the dark, and now they know I can see them too.
The apartment that stayed bright. The lights in my apartment didn't even flicker. I was folding laundry on the couch, half watching some reality show I wasn't really invested in, when I heard it, this collective groan from the building itself. You know that sound, the way a place sighs when everything electric shuts down at once. The hum you don't notice until it stops. I looked up. My TV was still on. The lamp beside me still glowing. The microwave clock in the kitchen still displaying 10:23 in bright green numbers. But outside my window, the Chicago skyline had changed. The building across the street, those luxury condos that usually lit up like a Christmas tree, completely dark. The office tower beyond it, same thing. Even the streetlights 43 floors below had gone out. I stood up, walked to the window. As far as I could see, the city had gone black, like someone had thrown a switch and just turned it all off. Except my apartment. The ceiling fan above me kept turning. The refrigerator hummed from the kitchen. Every light I'd left on was still burning steady and bright. I grabbed my phone. No service. The bars were there, but grayed out, useless. I tried pulling up the news, but nothing would load despite my Wi-Fi showing connected. Then I heard it. Voices in the hallway. Muffled, anxious. Someone knocked on a door down the hall, then another. I heard Mrs. Chen from 4307 asking if anyone had flashlights. I went to my door and opened it. The hallway was completely black. I mean, not just dark, black. The kind of darkness that feels physical, that pushes back against you. The emergency lights that were supposed to kick on during outages weren't working. I could hear people moving around, talking, but I couldn't see anything. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded too loud in the dark. "Who's that?" A man's voice, maybe from 4312. "It's Jess from 4309. Do you guys need light? I still have power for some reason." Silence. Then, "What do you mean you have power? My apartment, everything's still on. You can't see it?" More silence. I could hear whispering, people conferring. "We can't see anything," Mrs. Chen said. Her voice sounded closer now, like she'd moved toward my voice. "The whole building's out. You're saying your lights work?" "Yeah." I turned around to gesture at my apartment, and the sight of it stopped me cold. From where I stood in the doorway, I could see my living room perfectly. Every lamp, every light, illuminating everything in warm, normal light. But when I looked at the hallway, at where these people were standing in total darkness just a few feet away, they should have been able to see it. Light doesn't just stop at a doorway. It spills out, it spreads. But there was no light spilling into the hallway. It was like there was an invisible barrier right at my threshold, keeping all the light contained inside my apartment.
"I'm going to grab my phone flashlight," Mrs. Chen said. I heard shuffling, then a pause. "That's weird. My phone won't turn on." "Mine either," someone else said. "Mine's working," I said, turning on my flashlight and pointing it into the hallway. The beam cut through the darkness, and I immediately wished I hadn't looked. There had to be 15, maybe 20 people standing in the hallway. Way more than should have been out here. They were all just standing there, facing my direction, not moving. Their faces looked wrong in my flashlight beam, features washed out and flat, eyes reflecting back at me like animals caught in headlights. I jerked the light away and stumbled backward into my apartment. "Are you okay?" Mrs. Chen's voice, but it sounded different now, flatter. "I'm fine," I managed. I'll check the breaker. Maybe I can see what's going on." I shut the door before anyone could respond and threw the deadbolt, then the chain. Then I pressed my back against the door and tried to remember how to breathe. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. I went to the window, pressed my face against the glass. From up here, I could see into dozens of other apartments in the surrounding buildings, all dark. I could make out shapes inside some of them, people moving around with phone lights, candle flames flickering to life. Then I looked at the building directly across from mine, close enough that I could usually see into their units pretty clearly. There were people on the balconies, at least a dozen of them, scattered across different floors, just standing there in the dark, and they were all facing my direction, not just toward my building, toward my apartment specifically. I could see them tracking, their heads tilting as I moved across my window. My phone buzzed in my hand, and I nearly dropped it. A notification from my power company app. I didn't even remember downloading it. Power usage anomaly detected. I opened it with shaking fingers. The message expanded.
Your unit is currently drawing 847% above normal power levels. This is a critical alert. Please contact emergency services immediately. 847%. That was impossible. I wasn't running anything unusual. Just normal lights, normal appliances. How could I be drawing that much power? I opened the detailed usage chart. It showed a graph with time on the bottom and power consumption on the side. For weeks, my usage had been steady, predictable. Then, exactly at 10:23 p.m. tonight, the line shot straight up, off the chart. Like my apartment had suddenly become a massive drain, pulling electricity from where? The building was blacked out. Where was the power even coming from? Another buzz, a text message, no number attached. Turn it off. My hands went cold. Another text, you're drawing them. Turn it off. I backed away from my phone like it was venomous. It buzzed again and again, messages flooding in. Turn it off.
They see the light. You're a beacon. Turn off the lights. I ran to the window. More figures on the balconies now. Too many to count. All of them perfectly still. All of them facing me. I grabbed the curtains and yanked them shut, but I could still feel them out there, watching. The knocking started then, not on my door, inside the walls. Rhythmic, purposeful, moving around the perimeter of my apartment, like something was circling, testing the boundaries. My breaker box was in the coat closet by the entrance. I ran to it, threw open the door, and stared at the panel. Every switch was in the on position, and I swear I could feel heat radiating from it, hear it humming with way too much current. I reached for the main breaker, hesitated. If I turned off the power, I'd be in complete darkness, and whatever was out there in the hallway, whatever was on those balconies, whatever was inside my walls, they'd still be there. But maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe the light was what was keeping them out, or maybe the light was calling them in. Another knock, this time from inside my bedroom wall, closer, like something was getting braver. I made my decision. I grabbed the main breaker and shoved it down. The apartment plunged into darkness, so absolute it felt like going blind. Every electrical hum died instantly. The refrigerator, the AC, everything just gone. Silence. I stood frozen in the dark, phone still in my hand, but the screen black now, useless. I could hear my breathing, nothing else. Then, from outside my apartment door, a mechanical click. The emergency lights in the hallway had just failed. I heard it clearly, the sound of them dying, one after another down the hall. Click, 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 like dominoes falling. The entire building was now in complete and total darkness. For several seconds, nothing, just me standing in my pitch-black apartment, heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. Then the knocking came again, but not from the walls this time. From inside my apartment, from my bedroom, from my bathroom, from the kitchen. All around me, something was knocking from the inside, like the apartment itself had woken up and was trying to get my attention. The sound grew louder, more insistent, not random, coordinated, the same rhythm from every direction, closing in. I fumbled for the breaker, found the main switch in the dark, and threw it back on. Light flooded the apartment, blinding after the darkness. The knocking stopped instantly. I stood there, gasping, looking wildly around. Everything looked normal, same furniture, same walls, same apartment. But it felt different now, like the space itself had shifted slightly. Like I was looking at a copy of my apartment rather than the real thing. My phone lit up in my hand. The screen showed 10:31 p.m. Only 8 minutes since the blackout started. It felt like hours. I checked the power company app again. The anomaly alert was gone. My usage showed normal, like nothing had happened. From the hallway, I heard voices again. Normal voices, confused, annoyed, people complaining about the outage, asking if anyone knew what happened. The emergency lights were back on. I could see the glow under my door. I opened it slowly. The hallway looked completely normal. A few neighbors standing around in their pajamas. Mrs. Chen talking to a man I didn't recognize. When they saw me, they smiled. "Oh good, you're okay," Mrs. Chen said. "Wasn't that scary? The emergency lights took forever to kick in." "Yeah," I said. My voice sounded distant, not quite my own. Forever. "Well, at least the power's back now," the man said. "These old buildings, you know how it is." I looked past them, down the hallway. It was empty, except for the few neighbors. No crowd of people, no one standing and staring. "How long was the power out?" I asked. "Oh, maybe 30 seconds, just long enough to be annoying." 30 seconds. They thought it had been 30 seconds. I went back inside and locked the door, walked to my window and looked out. The city was lit again, every building, every streetlight, like the blackout had never happened.
I checked the balconies across the street. Empty, no figures, no one watching. My phone buzzed one last time. Another text from no number. Next time, leave them off. I stared at it until the screen went dark. It's 3 a.m. now, and I'm sitting in my living room with every light on, typing this on my laptop. I know I should turn them off. I know I'm probably drawing them again, whatever they are. But here's the thing I can't stop thinking about. When I shut off the breaker and plunged the building into complete darkness, the emergency lights failed. Not just in my hallway, I heard them clicking off all the way down, floor after floor. Like the building's backup power was somehow running through my apartment. Like I wasn't just drawing power, I was the power source. And when I turned the breaker back on, everything came back. The building, the emergency lights, all of it. So what happens if I leave them off permanently? What happens to everyone else in this building if I got the connection? I don't think I was being targeted. I think I'm the battery. I think something's been feeding off me, using me to stay lit. And last night was the first time I noticed. The knocking in the walls, that wasn't something trying to get in. That was something realizing I'd finally figured it out. I'm going to try to sleep, but I'm leaving the lights on, all of them, because I did an experiment an hour ago. I turned off just my bedroom light to see what would happen. The knocking started immediately, and this time it was coming from under my bed.